welcome to the Golden Feather. Grab a pint, a plate, and pick your seat. Your hosts Vertek and Chippy Bree are back from another adventure. Also, free drinks this episode. Just say free drink to get your free drink. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Golden Feather. Today is July 29th, 2022, and we have MMO Genesis, aka Rive Genesis, with us. How are you doing today, Rive?
Doing very good. Very excited about the stream, excited about the show.
Absolutely. And you guys might notice I am, oh my gosh. Hi, Paradox.
Paradox Gaming Network. Thank you so much.
Sup, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for stopping by with Mr. Jalan.
Yes. Thank you, Jalan, for sharing your community with us. How have you been, Jalan? And while you're answering that, you guys might notice I am in the Vertek room because Vertek, as you might notice, is elsewhere. How are you today,
I'm using
Vertek?
a busted laptop camera. It's amazing. You can tell this high fidelity image and wonderful lighting.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Theater Elf. Thank you. 3 months.
Oh, thank you,
Appreciate
Theo.
it.
And in case
I did take a
nobody
skate.
didn't catch it, that was her first time hearing that intro, by the way. Like,
Oh,
as
yeah.
it was playing on the way in.
I died. In case y'all missed it, apparently there's free drinks. I will do my best to keep up with that, but I can't make any promises.
Potentially hundreds now.
Welcome in Overthrow, Takata, TL, Magisto, Dark Paladin, good evening, Ravon, Supa, Zalexia,
Zupa.
Grumpy Old Man, back in my day. Hello, welcome in. Alright, so today we had a live stream. But before we get into all of that, first, Rive, who are you? Where are you? What do you do?
Mainly on YouTube. I am an MMO fan like everybody else, just hoping for a good MMO someday, and I think Ashes is the one I'm staking the most hope on. So that's me. I make some videos on YouTube. My early YouTube videos were not good at all, but I've started taking it much more serious and starting to get some good progress on YouTube, and I'm really excited about Ashes. I've tried to avoid jumping on that hype train. I really have, but this year I think I'm finally on it. I'm on board. I don't think I'm leading the train yet, but I'm on it somewhere, I think, at this point. So
Nice. I guess my question to you is, what kind of content do you plan to make the most? Especially as Ashes continues to ramp up.
That's a good question, because right now there's only so much to talk about, and
Right.
The informational videos I think have been hit really well with Ashes 101 and Ashes HQ. Those guys have really nailed that. So what I've been focusing on in terms of the Ashes side is kind of getting really deep into like one specific aspect of Ashes. So recent one I did was the open world PvP. I'm going to do a lot more on just specific aspects of the node, since obviously that's the biggest system in Ashes. And that's kind of where I want to focus, is just like theory crafting, speculation on specific game systems. But once we get closer to launch, I probably will do some guides and things like that. I know there's a stigma against guides in the community a little bit for some people, but I personally like to play pretty optimally. I'm one of those players, so I will be doing some guide type stuff when it's appropriate to actually be able to do that. So
Yeah, absolutely. I personally wanted to do guides myself, but my guides wouldn't be like how to play this class. It would be the differences between the primary and secondary archetype type of guides.
Sure.
And that way it's more generalized and not necessarily like this is the best. It's just this is what the pros and cons are of this mixture.
Absolutely. Not taking away the whole experience, but yeah.
Right.
Well, I know one of the big reasons that I've seen people are against guides right now is because of the everything is subject to change. Most of it's going to change.
Sure.
Why are you writing a guide right now? Because it's silly. It's going to be broken in 6 months.
Oh yeah. Right now it wouldn't make much sense at all to do any kind of guide. So
Right. Tier list.
Yeah.
Tier list. Here we go.
There you go. Ranking Ash's classes from like top to bottom. S rank class.
I'm sure there will be plenty of those, probably in Alpha 2, but right now you can't obviously do that. So.
Right. Absolutely.
Bot's behaving. I tamed it.
I think I forgot to press the play button, so I'll play the music now. Sorry, guys. I'm not usually the one in control up here. What about tier list?
Yeah, she's on my computer right now, and I had to introduce her to how everything works on there.
Yeah, I got a really quick like rundown right before going live. I essentially got a rundown, and then I ran downstairs, made dinner, came back up, and got it all set up. Push the train, go, go, go. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'd say Alpha 2 will spawn a massive amount of YouTube vids for a very long time. Absolutely overthrow. I agree.
Yeah.
Also, welcome in, Faye. So, Genesis. You have a definition here. Is this your definition of Genesis?
Put that in there.
Oh, you put that in there. Okay. I guess my question to you then, Rive, is what is your Genesis?
The genesis of me as a MMO player or as a YouTuber?
Just either or both?
As a human?
Your YouTube villain origin story.
I would say, well, I'll go with as an MMO player because I think that's what a lot of people like to hear about. I started with World of Warcraft, like most people did. Prior to that, I hadn't played any MMOs, even though I'm definitely old enough to have played the EverQuest and things like that. I just wasn't into it yet. I played Warcraft 2 and 3, and then that kind of naturally led me into World of Warcraft. And then from there, I think I played it pretty steady through Burning Crusade, and then I missed a good chunk of Wrath for some military deployments. And then, so by the time I got back, I didn't want to try to jump back into it. It was kind of late in the expansion. I did jump in, play Cataclysm pretty heavy.
Nice.
And then towards the end of that, I kind of got burnt out and just started jumping from MMO to MMO. And I've played a bunch of them. I've hit max level on quite a few different ones. So I have a pretty broad amount of experience. Guild Wars 2 was one that I got really heavy on the hype train. And that's why I tried to avoid the hype train so aggressively, just because I wouldn't say I was burned by Guild Wars 2, but I think I drank the Kool-Aid of not needing vertical progression and things like that, and not needing the Trinity and those sort of things. And I guess I didn't realize how casual that game was going to end up being. And even though it's still a very good game and I still play it, that was one that I really jumped on that hype train and got burned by to some extent. And so ever since then, like every game I play, it's like, do I really want to invest the time to get to max level? Because I think eventually I'm just not going to enjoy it. I mean, I might enjoy it during the leveling, but then once I get to max level, and I've hit max level on a ton of games, even New World, I got to max level, but even though I didn't like the game very much, but I said, I'm going to at least try to get to max level. And I did. And then I just dropped it, which I knew was going to happen, but I'm really hoping Ashes is the game that changes that and gets all of us out of that rut. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fingers crossed. Zalexia, thank you.
Thank you, Zalexia. Thank you.
Cheers for the bits.
Cheers indeed. Another round. So there's a lot that we talked about on the, well, not we, but they talked about on their live stream today. And the newest video, they actually just put this up right before we went live. So let me just grab the link for you guys in case you want to go, save it, go love it, whatever you want to do. But yeah, this is the little Alpha 2 desert biome preview that Steven gave us. And in today's live stream, they talked a lot about the tools and development tools they built for making art quicker to customize things, and also touched a little bit about making sure that for people who have older computers, it's not going to be as much of a problem. So there's a lot to tackle necessarily with today's stream. Is there any part that either of you particularly liked the most? We can go from there.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll start off because that's kind of the reason I put the notes about the Genesis definition, is because a lot of what Intrepid is doing is really causing the genesis of new approaches to development, to be honest, and approaches to the end product of a development. Like, there's another new tool that they're creating. This is like the 5th or 6th new tool they're creating for automating processes that can then be fine-tuned by the artists and other engineers and designers, rather than having to create everything from the ground up like a lot of studios do. Or they might have a shortcut or two, but this is like, they can... Ooh, as I smack my mic, I'm sorry. Please forgive me, thine ears. But they combined like 4 different steps, I think they said, between like 3 or 4 different tools just to get something in game, and then they'd have to redo it all just to change something up significantly. And now they're just like, well, let's go inside the engine and just build it, because why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't destroy it if we change it. It's you can Control Z, because Control Z is a vital tool.
Right.
Undo.
Yeah, for me, that was the same. That was the highlight for me as well, the tool that they made. And I think anytime in a production type process where you can streamline things, I think it's a balance though that you have to find. Like if you're going to spend, I don't know how long it took to make that tool, and say, I don't know, 1,000 man hours, probably more than that, but obviously you would want to do that if the return is going to be you get those man hours back and then some. So right. I assume the way they described it, I assume that's definitely one of those tools that saves them in the long run a ton of man hours, which is anytime, like said, in a production process where you're doing very repetitive things over and over again, if you can streamline it early in the process, I think that's great.
Right, I agree. And I really enjoyed the part where Stephen kind of touched on the whole, we're not focused on a date, we're focused on quality. And so I even enjoyed also how Maggie had kind of pointed out that Stephen is allowing them to take the time that they need to learn how to build these tools. And I feel like this is not only good for the developers on the project, but also the project itself. Like, they will be able to go forward. And I mean, as if you guys were able to tune into the video, they talked about how basically they didn't have that tool before. There wasn't any quick way of going about stuff. And I think this tool will, speed up in combination, as they mentioned, with UE5. But like, this will be a great thing to put on the resume, to be like, I built this tool for this game. This is the first game that has this unique tool because, well, we built it.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you. But I also, the Sorta in chat is saying they could license and make some money off of it. And I also heard Jalon say that during his stream as well. I don't know if he's still here, but that I agree they could potentially, it could be a something they could license and make a little bit of income off of as well, which I would be in favor of, obviously. Right. I think most people would. So it's a great thing. Obviously, I don't, I've dabbled with programming, but I've never dabbled with art or animation or anything like that. So I don't know anything when it comes to that. But the way they described it, it was described to where a layman could understand, I think. And to me, it seems like something where they can potentially save a lot of time with it. And they looked pretty innovative. I kind of wonder, like, if any other MMO does anything like that, or if they've done anything like that before, because it seems like why wouldn't somebody have already made that?
Right.
But
I think it's one of those things where just maybe some people just get so used to the workflow that they don't even think about doing anything like that, or maybe it takes some cross training and cross experience between two different realms. Like, some artists, all they do is they draw stuff, and they don't think of tools and making tools and how tools work other than I hate how it does this or I love how it does that. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what they
Work
know.
with what you got. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I
sorry.
no worries. I was just going to tie it into even in my job right now. I do design of security systems, like physical and cybersecurity systems. And one of the things we do is we have to go through like blueprints, and we have to add in, okay, this door has these components to it, and then this door has these components to it, and this over here we need this type of intrusion detection, et cetera, et cetera. But then after we draw everything and put everything on the map, we need to export it out to an Excel sheet and go through and try and draw conclusions on everything, and then figure out what other devices we need based on what we had to put in place, like how many switches and things to get all into the hardware part of things. But as I'm kind of moving from one department to another, I'm kind of building them an automation tool because I got sick of doing it all by hand. Like how about we just automate some of this to collect that data, put it in a big pile, and then sort it for you, so you don't have to spend 1/3 of the job sorting everything. It'll do it in 5 minutes at the end.
Right. And that kind of ties in with what Faye had said earlier, and I have up on the screen. One of the most important basic tenets of being a programmer is you never repeat your work, right? You're supposed to be lazy so far as you do it right the first time, but you do it in a way that can be reused. And it feels like someone at the studio actually knows this and is taking the time to actually adhere to this tenet, because I, as a web developer, try to find ways to increase productivity so I'm not rewriting the same type of code all the time. And it really helps. And I agree, because what Disordia said here is you could definitely use default assets and copy paste the whole cities, and you don't really need tools like that, sure. But then you have people that, what was it we were talking about, New World, where they noticed it was the same city, just flipped and turned weird,
I was just about to text a reply to Disorder's statement, like, nobody would New World do that. No way.
But like, it's one of those things where, we noticed stuff like that. But also, did you change PCs?
Thank you for the beard there, Dante. It's after getting scruff growing for a week.
No, it's always been this way. Why do you ask? Right? But yeah, also I think who else had a good it was Takeda was saying, I think they can't do it in UE4. The technology wasn't advanced enough to create this kind of tool. And maybe that was one of the objectives for moving into UE5. It was one of the things that made UE5 look a little sweeter, is that there was not only the ability to not only is there an ability to log in multiple people into the same cell or node that they were working on, but also creating these kind of tools. I will neither agree nor disagree, Ashes of Nair.
There we go. Oh, yeah, see? Grintag knows.
Grintag does know.
This is the best place right here. Is there booze back here? Oh, unfortunately not. Ooh. I mean, there's schnapps.
There's schnapps.
Yeah.
Overthrow says, I thought it was pretty approachable, and I like that they don't dumb things down to buzzwords, and we'll just let the artist talk to the audience. So, what are your thoughts on, the verbiage that they used and how they just talked technical things? Also, Wizzy McNasty, thank you! Wow, 14 months already. Goodness.
Thank you much, Wizzy.
Time flies. But what are your thoughts on, the technical jargon that they were using? And did it feel like, you were being talked at, as somebody who's, supporting this, or talked at as if somebody's, trying to pitch this towards you, right? I feel like it's a little bit of a different feeling.
I felt that it was I felt that it was understandable. I felt that anybody outside of the project probably could have understood what they were talking about. Mm-hmm. That's the way I felt. I didn't feel it was overly technical.
I think it was pretty great. talking about a car, they actually spoke about, parts of the engine in general. Like, instead of just saying, some stuff under the hood and keeping it super like unclear in their generality. Mm-hmm. So they got somewhat specific without probably getting more specific or as specific as they probably could have, I should say.
I would say it's a good mid-level. It wasn't too high level enough to be like very vague, but it wasn't too technical. It was a very comfortable middle ground where like they got technical, but in a comfortable way,
Mm-hmm. I think Feather put it out pretty well there too. Kept it to a very basic level, but was technical enough to show off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have to say this. I just saw it in this little clip that they have here. Anyway, the for one, I'm calling her the goddess of palms because of the mistake that I made that one time, but also she has her palms out, so it's like goddess of palms. But I love the effect of the sand dripping out of the palm and just like flowing out of it. Yeah. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know somebody's going to want an explanation as to how sand got up there and then keeps flowing out like that, but...
Magic.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like a sand fountain.
Agreed.
Maybe that's where the desert came from.
Maybe.
The statue was there and it just started pouring out sand one day and then the desert was born.
It's the whole thing filled up eventually, yeah.
That's fair. I'm gonna swap the video over to the development because I have it queued up for like the 20-minute video. So I'll just kind of give you guys something else to look at while we chat. Here's this. There we go. So Santa. Good one, Discordia. Whatever someone else. How did that happen in Vera? Yes, that's true, Mizzy. The answer is always magic.
Magic. Yeah, true.
Wolfie, ideas about the symbol on the statue circlet? That's a good question. What do you guys think?
Supposedly that symbol was also on the little teaser scroll earlier this week, somebody had said. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know if that's true. I didn't actually go and check.
Yep, Asha says it matches the symbol on the parchment in the sneak peek.
Yeah.
That would never be wrong.
Never.
Would never.
Absolutely
would
never.
Full faith in you, friend. Full faith in you.
Ooh, Baoshi thinks it's a emblem of a race.
Ochi.
What race is the desert race? I don't know.
Well, that's the human, not Kalar, but
the other one.
Yeah,
I know all the race
symbols.
Okay. I need to see the symbol. Okay, I'm not sure if I have the symbol somewhere, but maybe we'll see it. I don't think we know much which pantheon is associated with Veilun yet. That's fair. Thank you. Ashes in there. It does match the... Okay, yeah, so there's the Veilun sigil. If you guys want me to, I can put it up real quick. I'll do that. I think that'll be a good idea. Whoop. Yeah. There it is, Veilun sigil. So, it's interesting. I mean, the scorpion does go well with the desert, I have to say. God of Fate? Maybe, Barrows. That's a good question. Good guess.
Not to get off topic right now, but to mention it and put a pin in it, that scorpion, though.
Right?
I'll talk about that scorpion later.
Okay, the scorpion. What that scorpion do, though?
That scorpion, though.
Sands of time or fate? True. Where is the symbol on the statue? I'm not sure. Well, I guess we'll go back. I think it was on, like, the bracelet somewhere. There's also a sigil up here on the head piece.
Yeah, I'm trying to look now on the Twitch stream myself so I can try and find a good spot for you to look at. I think there was somewhat of a close-up.
By the way, I was expecting the Tolnar to have higher potential for cute-looking characters, like a llama face or something. Was that just me, or was anybody else hoping for something like that? Dante asks.
I was not expecting cute. anything except for unless you wanted it to look like a little baby lizard looking thing.
Ash just says no cat girls for you, Dante.
No cute slider. No cute slider.
Yeah, Steven did say that the headpiece was the lore.
I got something that's kind of a zoom or kind of a decent shot at like 131 on
Tame
the
the
Twitch
Scorpion.
video.
Yeah, okay, 131. Can you send me the time link? When you go to click share, there's a box that can include the T equals.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I see a better one coming in here.
Okay. No insect Tolnar. That would have been cool though, right? The insect Tolnar. Like imagine having like some sort of insect mixed thing. But it is, I believe, supposed to be a mix of the races that we already have, right? Isn't that my understanding?
Potentially even some others that may have been wiped out. Who knows?
Yeah.
A lot of genetic diversity, that's for sure. That should be very disease resistant.
I agree.
I have no idea.
I was hoping Tolnar looked like Flail Runner. Lesser and major races. Thank you. Appreciate that. Sexy lizards, however. Oh my gosh. I think cute is still doable over Thursos. Unless it was done the alien way. Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I think, well, let's talk about the biome. This is our first look at the desert type of biome. And I'm just kind of wondering what your thoughts are on the quality of the biome that we see here. I think it looks really pretty.
I think it's on par with the Riverlands. Aesthetically, for me, I like the Riverlands a little better. But I mean, it's as far as a desert biome, I think it's probably the best one I've ever seen in an MMO. I like that they didn't go full desert, like just barren wasteland. There's rivers. There was pretty good amount of diversity in flora and fauna. I like it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big empty spaces though. Like for instance, right here, like there's just a big, huge empty space there, and I wonder if that's I wonder about that a little bit. Is that like the edge of the world maybe, and you can't go there anyways? So that's why it's so empty. But there was a lot of empty places.
That's fair. Yeah, the sea of sand dunes. Sorry, what were you saying, Roberta?
Yeah, very vast space. Oh, I was saying the video that you had up, I happened to glance at the stream and it was a good shot directly at the headpiece.
Yeah, I went to pause it, but it like darkened it. But yeah, no. Feel free to grab the link that Vertec put in there for you guys. A dune vibe for that popped up. A dune vibe for a small region would also be nice. I agree. I want to make a point at what Theater said. I love that it's not so barren. Vertec, well, actually, first, Rive, how long have you been around with Ashes? Like, since 2017, or are you a little bit newer?
I've been kind of following it since 2017, but I did buy into A1, but not during Kickstarter. When they relaunched the A1 pack, I did go ahead and buy that. So maybe a year or two before that's when I started really researching it. But I haven't been around since 17. No, I'm not the super hardcore. I'm not that hard. I'm pretty hardcore, but not that hardcore, I guess.
That's fair.
I'll be honest. At first, I was a little skeptical, but over time, they've proven themselves. So,
do you remember back when they were talking about a desert biome and everybody was so worried it was going to be barren and empty, like actual deserts are? Right.
Yeah, I kind of remember that a little bit, and I get it. It's not incredibly barren. I mean, it's more like a semi-arid, environment,
Right.
not full on desert, more like New Mexico maybe, instead of Arizona.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or like Western Texas maybe.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah, that's I like the look of the biome myself. It's very deserty with, as was mentioned, not being complete and utter just sand and rock. A little bit of flavor mixed in there, and I really want to know what that weird tower is with the beam shooting up to heaven.
Right? That was an
Absolutely.
interesting part. Majisa says, I like the water with the hippo.
Yeah,
That was a nice touch.
yep, absolutely not a race, more like a marathon. Yep.
I wonder how many people, hold on, let me pop this up there. Wolfie McGee says, I wonder how many people will try to steal the dragon skull eyes and wonder if that would trigger an event.
Yeah, I want to see if some like Aladdin stuff happens, like with that little dungeon you went into to get the lamp at the beginning. Just you try to pry a gem out, and the entire maw just opens up and swallows you down into a death trap.
Just
You guys disturb my slumber.
I'm sure
Love
there's
it.
going to be things like that in this game. Yeah, I would imagine there'll be some things like that where you have no idea what you're supposed to do, so you just kind of guess and then hope for the best. The first time, and then somebody puts it on YouTube or whatever, and then, but
Right. I mean, then never is going to wonder, how do you unlock that, right? So, but those are pretty. Those are very pretty.
Lots of stuff looks like it was just carved into the mountains.
Ooh, first off, hello, Brigand, Iron Guard. Second off, I love what you said. I would love to see mirages in the game. I feel like that'd be a really nice touch.
Ooh. Yeah, that would.
I think that would especially add to the desert biome, because when it's hot and stuff and you're on a long road, you tend to get the water waves, but as you approach it, it's not there. So I wonder how trippy that would be, just running around and thinking you see like an oasis. You run up to it, but it just disappears. That'd be cool.
Have you played BDO?
I didn't get into it real extensively. No, I think I maybe got to level 20 or 30 is all.
Okay. Do you
I'll
recall,
switch back.
switch
Thank
back?
you. Can you send me that link, please, Nair? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I hit an ad, so I swapped to the YouTube page. I was like, ad. Thank
Dante's
you.
unlocking the secret to getting mirages if you really want them.
Oh yes, okay, that's what I'm playing right here. Oh yeah, what's the secret? What's the secret, Dante?
You have to run the game with a 1050 Ti at 20 frames per second and a weak internet connection with 400 ping.
Absolutely.
You get instant mirages, not just in the desert biome, but all over the map.
That's fair. That's fair. And Brigand did say that we did see heat waves of sorts there sculpting the sand mama. That is true. That is true.
Chibi, do you recall in BDO when we hit the desert, you had to have like a compass or else you couldn't go anywhere?
Yes, and I got lost so many times in the desert. I tried doing it without the compass.
And then even if you did have a compass, it didn't really show you if you were facing northwest, south, or whatever. You just kind of had to wing it.
Yep.
And you had to have like tea or water with you, or else you get dehydrated. I think it'd be neat if they did something like that with their desert as well. At least if nothing else with the water and making it really hard to tell direction. And if you start to get dehydrated, then you start seeing all the like actual mirage hallucinations from the heat and lack of water.
I think with UE5, all that's quite possible, probably. With nanite and all those, and lumen and all those technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what Desorda said. Maybe the mirages could also be like a weather thing. Like there's a heat wave as a weather, and so you see more mirages.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
Slimy snores just make it creepier. I just have to ask, how does the snore survive in the desert, right? Because snails, they die in the sun, right? So how is it surviving?
It's definitely magic.
Definitely magic.
Soaking all the moisture out of rocks as it passes by.
Yeah.
Norse has created the desert also.
Ooh, overthrow. I could see that too, actually. Let me pop yours up there. Overthrow says, I could see a Dunir looking nice in this desert biome.
Yeah, TL might have it correct there. That shell has a water tank.
Fair, TL, fair.
Just like a regular camel, just storing water there.
It is a huge shell.
Wesley really hates the snores. Before the stream, I had stated that I hoped the snores would die in the desert.
Not liking the snores.
No, absolutely not.
What? I can't imagine the snores will be one of the faster mounts because I know they have different speeds. So that one has to be, you would think, one of the slower ones.
It has the really long legs though, right? You see it like kind of push off. It's interesting. But what about, did you see that at the end of this clip? The scorpion.
Where
scorpion boss.
The tail split at the end. Yeah, that was, I think, that one of the coolest things of the whole stream. That it was only for a split second. I tried to get a screenshot of it, but it happened really fast. But
my mind just instantly goes to like badass. You know, that's like
that was incredible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite parts right there, seeing that, because I had the one big tail and then out of nowhere it just.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wizzy says that the pet had the double tail last month, so. Kind of feeling a little bit bad that I missed out on it, because then I could have a little, like, maybe raid boss as a pet. That'd be adorable. Yeah. Ooh, just sorta says rain season will be interesting, creating new rivers where there was maybe some rivers or some valleys.
And it could play in, if they talked about flooding in that one live stream, and flooding in the desert obviously could be a big deal, allow you to grow certain crops, in the floodplains.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, they're not sure whether they're going to do that yet. It's just a concept that they're thinking about. But that would be, in the desert, I could see that being pretty useful.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Nissinger, welcome in. I wonder if the desert flora would react to a big rain. That'd be interesting. Could you imagine? Okay, so we saw the clip there with the snores and then the bioluminescence of the inside of the shell. Can you imagine? Goodness, thank you. Thank you so much, Nisslinger, for the support.
Oh, thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you for stopping by.
Can you imagine rain falling down and then the desert flora being bioluminescent at night?
Yeah, that'd be neat.
That'd be so cool.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I just think it'd be nice and what's the word I'm looking for here? A good variety of everything and very dynamic. If, like in the video, how it was just showing a big old canyon straight down, it looks almost like a Grand Canyon that they say, it was carved by water over the course of, so many years. What if they would dry out and then get rain again, and just it would open up for a limited time certain dungeons down there because the water is washing away certain debris or whatever. And then as it goes into the dry season and dust storms happen, and it covers them back up with the sand.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
that'd be cool. The other
2 month
cool
cycle
thing,
seasons, you could access it for like a week.
Right.
Something I wonder is like how much are they going to do of that? Because it seems like there might be some limitations on how much, of that kind of hidden content based on the weather, based on the nodes you could do. Like there has to be some static content. Like so, I've always kind of wondered like how much dynamic, dungeons and things like that are hidden behind different systems are there going to be.
Right.
Obviously, we don't know yet.
Right.
Well, Yeah, you figure there's going to be basically an unlimited amount of static stuff that could exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even bother talking about what static stuff could exist myself, because who knows? It's all going to depend on lore, right? But at least the hidden stuff could just be really random because it's hidden, so you probably wouldn't want to make like progression or anything else centered around the hidden stuff. Just like there's some really cool stuff down there, some very unique cosmetics, maybe an additional flair for your skills or whatever, like a different color particle or something that you can find. But that's the stuff that excites me to go out and find.
Now here's my question to you. We've been given examples like mining into a mountain might cause a dragon to erupt from the mountain. What kind of desert thing do you think would cause a raid boss to happen? Also, Captain Redbeard, welcome in. Hello.
That's a good question. I think Vertec kind of had an idea already with the weather. Are you talking like a weather type event or a player type event? So
like a reaction to a player, yeah.
Yeah, outside of like nodes leveling up or something like that. Well, yeah, boy, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that could happen in the desert. I mean, probably mining in certain areas. Maybe something to do with doing something near the river. Maybe there's some way to dam off a river and create an artificial flood. And maybe that would, on the other side of the dam, maybe that would open up, a new area, a dungeon or something. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think some really cool things would be like, well, for one, the quote unquote like flooding season. Like say there's a raining season in the mountains just beyond the desert. And then when it rains and it starts, say, melting out some snow or whatever, it just causes flooding that rushes through the canyons in the desert and unlocks content for a certain amount of time before a sandstorm closes it up. The sandstorm itself, containing in the middle of it, like in the eye of the storm, almost like hurricane style, there could be a raid boss in there that's, if anything, either causing it or really likes to be the center of all that devastation and just follows it along as it travels. Or even... because of just the line of sight you can get when there's no trees in your way. How cool would it be if you just climb up to the hands of that statue, and from there you can see a small little glint every once in a while off in the distance, because you have to be at just the right angle or height, and the sun kind of reflects off of something that you got to run out and try to see what it is. And if you just don't catch that detail, you just never see it.
Right.
But if you do see it, you run out there and you grab whatever it is. Maybe it's a lever hidden in the bushes that looks like a regular lever, unless you've unlocked it by standing on the hand and you see like the top little metal nubbin on the top of it now.
Yeah, and you can like mark it kind of. Right.
Yeah, gliding mount to the glint. Yeah, exactly.
Could have too many people riding snorses in the desert, and then whatever raid boss hates snorses comes down. Big dragon comes flying down.
Oh my gosh,
see
that's
Dante's
funny.
comment.
Yeah, I think I have Dante's here. Yeah, the cactus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Camels. Yeah.
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 Magisto, like I'm gonna come back to that actually. But let me grab what. There we go. But let's see. We have Overthrow saying, yeah, I could see a raining season causing changes in the desert, like winter season might cause changes in the riverlands, perhaps. And then Brigand says, maybe like someone said, when you remove the sacred jewel, it awakens a sandstone golem. That would be cool. I think towards the end there, you see the little baby scorpions, right? And then you see the bigger scorpion. So what if you see all these little baby scorpions like coming out of the woodwork, and you're like, I gotta, protect myself. So you kill them, but then because you're killing like some scorpion's babies, the scorpion mama essentially gets mad and comes out, kind of thing. Which kind of goes along with what I think it was Nir had said. And then Disorda says hippos are very territorial. So too much sea caravans could trigger maybe a hippo stampede.
Ooh, how about this? So it came to mind because of Theodore saying maybe it wants to eat the Snorse.
Okay.
So, with the Snorse being such a trigger-worthy creature out there.
Yeah, a lot of things don't like it. Yeah.
What if that shell on its back really is a water tank, keeping it hydrated? Yeah. And it's just making slimy, wet little trails as it squishes along, right? But then underneath the sand, there's these creatures that they're very starving for water, and when the Snorse like travels above them, it ends up leaking down so much water that they pop up and they get ravenous and just attack. So it's
That's
literally
funny.
the desert trying to consume your Snorse.
I'm sure there'll be like some of them that are really simple. Like there's just a certain amount of people in one area just triggers an event, or it could be, players have killed a certain amount of X animal and that triggers it. But then there's probably going to be some really complex ones that hopefully there's some that are complex enough that people don't discover them until like months or even years after launch. That would be, if they can design like that. Of course, I mean, you don't want to design content that people don't ever see either, like no server ever sees it. Like that would be a waste of developer time. But hopefully some stuff that's a little bit hidden or takes a little bit more elaborate things happening would be kind of neat to see.
Yeah. Dante says maybe they'll throw in an event where a random NPC stands in the middle of the desert and says, "I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and gets everywhere." And he'll give his own quest to help him become a knight. And if the quest isn't complete, he turns into world boss who force chokes people. I don't know.
Oh my lord. Dante never changed.
But I wanted to call back to something Overthrow had said. I remember Steven saying he liked the two statues in Lord of the Rings when the Fellowship leaves Lothlorien. And the shot of the player on the mount approaching this goddess statue feels very similar. And I could see that. And it actually, it really is nice because you see in the video where they're doing all of the work on the statue, but then you actually see in the environment where a player or a character is interacting with that environment with the statue in the background, and it looks good in my opinion.
It's very cool to have like assets way off in the distance, and that's what I remember from Alpha 1. Just the draw distance was incredible. And just having that, and just how long it took to get some of those things. I know you could see the volcano, I think, from pretty anywhere on that map, as long as it was in your field of vision. And that is pretty cool. I don't know the effect on people's graphics cards when they do that, but I thought that's a pretty cool concept that they're going with. And I even in the like Riverlands concept art, you see, like, you can see the volcano in that, and we know, well, according to the map, which is changing, the volcano is quite a ways away from the Riverlands, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I imagine that statue is going to be visible from a very long ways away, and that tower probably much further because of how high it shoots.
Plus the beacon. Yeah. But Disorda says there could be monsters living in this hand, and construction work on its surface disturbs them as another event. So that could be a good cause of a leveling up node causing a reaction. Maybe at first they're like a little bothered, but when there's a whole like metropolis being built, it's a bit more bothersome.
Yeah, like full on construction rather than just people plopping down some tents that would make something just kind of grumble and go, "Why are you here? I don't like you."
Yep. But
dropping a town hall and a blacksmith there with an anvil going all night, that might cause the neighbors to get angry.
Tink. You're right. And Bauchi says the volcano was killing my 1660 Super to about 20 FPS. Can't wait for the next testing. Got a 3080. Congrats. But Wizzy says, I Alpha 1 didn't choke up my 1660 Ti laptop, which really shocked me. I didn't expect the same graphics card love during Alpha 2. I don't expect the same graphics card love during Alpha 2.
At least not early on. Yeah, it won't be likely very optimized at first. You would expect. I mean, that's typically how it is. I don't know. Maybe it'll be different because it's UE5 and maybe it's more optimized out of the box. I don't know.
Right.
I know. Historically, most games are just so unoptimized early on. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until basically launch. At least beta. The beta stage, the late beta stages is when they really do the optimization because they're done making sweeping changes of everything.
Yeah.
Right.
But I just know I should be okay and happy to see what happens on my desktop because I got a 3070 at least.
Yeah.
But this laptop would not touch the game. It's got an old 1060.
Ooh, Ash's Nerve. I'll get right back to that. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I don't see because this thing even says VR ready, but just seeing how even trying to run something in 4K on the 3070, I don't see how the 1060 really would have done incredibly well with VR.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but
Absolutely. I think as technology advances, there's limitations of previous ages of technology. But yeah, no, I don't know, I'm pretty excited for all of this. TL said, how about screwing a gem into the statue's headband? That could be potentially a thing. But TF also says, my question is, who put that dragon skull up on that mountain structure? It's huge and probably weighs several tons. That's a good question. Abarat, thank you. Goodness.
Abarat, holy moly.
We appreciate you, friend. Thank you.
Snapping my attention over there. Thank you so much. You're factory kind every time you swing in here.
But yeah, Gruntag, thank you. 5 months already. Goodness. All the love. Super appreciate it. Ashes in Air says, okay, I made a quick little comparison thing. The symbol on the scroll clearly matches the statue. The Valoon sigil has elements of the same symbol on it, but is more intricate with some wings too. And then gave a link, but I don't have the link on this version. So yeah, I'm gonna try scrolling back up and grabbing that. Boop. There we go. Popping it up here for you. There you go. Very interesting. I like the speculation.
It looks like it very much could have been maybe the Alar specifically before they broke up into Valoon and Kalar.
Yeah.
Or the Ayla, rather, not Alar. Ayla. Do they have their sigil out there?
Vera Illuminati confirmed. Is that a cobra in the middle one? That's a good question.
The Illuminati?
That's an odd.
Yeah, I don't see the racial symbol for the Ayla specifically.
Brigham said, did y'all notice the Petro City looking entrance to something in the stream today?
Is he talking the entrance where the raid boss came out, or there was another one? Is he talking that one that's just on the stream? Well, it was just on the stream just a bit ago.
Yeah.
That must be that one. Okay. Yeah.
Possibly. He's so the big door.
Yeah.
Big door.
Yeah, that's definitely something. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Definitely curious about it. My thought, I guess, to kind of wrap up, I think they're the same. Okay. That's fair. Let's see. Boop. I think my thing was, I was thinking maybe exploring, I guess somebody said this catacombs, right? Exploring the dungeons or catacombs or whatever structures are there already. Perhaps something has made that its home since we've left and came back to Vera.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yep.
Is this done? Okay, it's done.
Oh, I think I just had a realization. Wizzy.
Oh.
Wizzy.
Uh-oh.
You were guildmates with Aegon TV? Because that means that you were guildmates with me. That Aegon was from Umbra. That's where I was. That was my home. That was my home. Were you always Wizzy McNasty and I just somehow never made the connection? My goodness. My goodness.
Nice. Small world.
I've known you for so long and didn't know it.
Balchi says, I say the statue represent Lord of the Rings and the sign is from the Horde. Wow. And the desert is ashes that will engulf them both. But I love what Brigham says. It's just cool to see some strong real-world references hinted at in game. I can't wait. Absolutely. I definitely agree to this. Because she was Wizzy McNice before life got to her. Oh my gosh. No, absolutely. I love that Intrepid has taken pieces from real world cultures and not just one culture and baked it into the races in the game and the structural and I guess integrity but also design of the pieces in the game. Is there a race or culture that you are most looking forward to from Ashes?
I haven't put a lot of thought into that yet. I'd like to see all of them first because aesthetics are obviously a big part of that. I know we've kind of seen most of them at this point, but not all the different configurations, especially obviously with Tolnar, there's going to be so many different configurations. I would say, honestly, if I had to choose one right now, especially after what we saw today, I might actually go Tolnar, but just because the way, and I could be wrong on this, but kind of the way I understand it is you're going to have maybe more sliders and options for customization because you can make the combination of the different races into one race somehow. So that might be maybe where I might be leaning at the moment, but I would say, and because of the lore and what happened with them, and I'm not completely up on the lore, but I do know, the story of the Tolnar and why they are like they are. I think that story is to me the most compelling. So maybe the Tolnar.
Yeah, very nice. I'm excited that we were able to see, a bit of them. I know, and I guess before I get too far onto that, I think what they were talking about in stream today is exactly something that we've been hinting at for a while, and that is we are being given the information as they are ready for us to have it, and that they're a bit further ahead than they show us all the time. Given that they already know what the pirate, sorry, I'm reading chat while I'm also talking. But given that they know what the Tolnar look like already, and I believe have it more fleshed out, and they're excited to make that whole video for us and everything. But
he was voting Tolnar, but I didn't see that. So I mean, Tolnar is the most interesting for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess as a fallback, maybe one of the elves, possibly, but because I like elves usually.
Yeah.
But the orcs, the Vex, yeah. I mean, it's not easy. It's not an easy decision. I mean, a lot of times I've gone human too, so we'll see.
Yeah.
That's right. I sometimes pick human as my first character just because I don't know what the other people are.
Right.
And then I end up finding out that I didn't know what the humans were either because they turned out to be jerks or whatever.
Yeah.
That's for me, that's a lot of it. Like I want to play around with each of them in A2, especially for class choice archetypes. Like I definitely want to get my hands on them before I settle in on that. I have like historically I've played, like there's a lot of people that are like, I'm always like the warlock class, and I'm not that way. Like I play something different in every MMO, and I've played tank, I've played healer, I've played range DPS, melee. I've played every role that you can play. Just I don't know, just for variety, I guess. I mean, I think if I played the same role in every MMO, I think I'd be very bored of that role at this point. So, but that's me. I definitely want to see all of them before I make my choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so there's only one thing. Yeah, there's only one thing I ever say always about, and that's I always have a tank.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
That's about it. I'll find my favorite tank, and I'll have at least that one
as one of your classes. Like, is your main class or like an alt?
I usually main tank unless it's unless it's a game that I just don't like the tanking styles or whatever, and I'm just kind of playing because other people are playing, and then I just find the most fun class and run with it.
Absolutely. Hold on, let me get this up there while that's on subject. Boop. 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 There we go. Oh, alien word.
Yeah, it sort of has that correct. By the way, like today you could hear on multiple occasions they're far more ahead than what they show on the live streams.
Yep.
Just by even when it comes to, hey, are they gonna pick the stats from the primary or secondary archetype? We have a video we're working on to talk about that already. So, okay. Cool.
Yeah, I think they have all the
stuff.
archetypes in. I think they have augments in. Because in the previous 2 streams he had played an assassin in one, and whatever the fighter combo is, weapon master or something like that.
Yeah.
So that means they have the secondaries and the augments in theory, potentially. Right?
In theory, yeah.
So and there's videos of the fighter from like A1 and the ranger from like A1. So even though they weren't in A1, they were in their client. So we know they withhold certain things. The ranger was withheld because of a bug, supposedly, but the fighter was in the A1 client because there's a video on the Discord of Steven like gathering with a fighter with fighter abilities on his bar. So, I mean, those are all in for sure. It's just a matter of how many of the zones are done and things like that. I mean, for like A2, like I would assume we'll see like all the major features of A2 before they give us a date, which there's a lot more they have to show on that. So.
Right. Just to backtrack a little, if I may, Gruntag says Renkai, however, they look a little bit more tame in today's change. Absolutely. I did notice that they really tamed them down. I kind of like the way they looked before, but maybe there'll be a slider to kind of go back and forth between the two. That'd be kind of cool. Denier, Dwarf Club from Burgund. We're all an all dwarf guild, so can't wait to see them in game with their new models. Absolutely. And then person after my own heart, Overthrow. I'm going Pyre. If I can have minimal branchlers, otherwise may go Empyrean. That is absolutely fair. I love the branchlers, so I'm going Pyre.
Is it just me, or did the Empyrean really come out looking snotty?
Oh, I mean, they are, upper class. But Wizzy says the races are finally starting to look connected. There was such a disconnect to me before. I just didn't get it. And then things that you guys are kind of talking about right now, and I'm going to catch up on the chat right now, but Dante says, oh, by the way, did you guys hear Lazy Peon is working on a new Ashes video for August? Maybe there'll be a second generation of Lazy Peon Ashes Accretion support. It's on 3rd generation, I think, though. I was first. Then there was the one in roughly 2019, 2020, and then now. So yeah, I could see that.
I think it was his second one that really took off. That second one he did. Yeah.
I only found his first one because I was bored and I was looking for a new MMO to play. and I was looking at what was coming out, and Ashes was mentioned. I thought it was so pretty. I just like immediately went to Ashes.
Yeah. Oh, it was a factor for me to finally get me on board. So
Yeah.
And many other people probably in the chat, I assume. So
Yeah, absolutely. Love toners, monkeys. Yeah. Overthrow says, I think they have a rough draft of an alpha build already implemented, minus a few biomes. My guess is that what the company April goal post that they celebrate, that's what the company April goal post was that they celebrated. I installed ESO the day I watched that video. It feels. Super Bradley says the toner rocks. The monkey styler is super oriental and I love it. Absolutely. I think it's really cool. I just really love everything they showed off today, honestly.
it was a great stream overall. I mean, yeah, it wasn't, we didn't see any more combat or anything, but it was just, that's the thing about this whole year with their streams is they've really upped it to where they're only showing stuff that's highly polished now, which I think's the right move.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Jalon said something at one point that really makes sense that, unless Intrepid is literally planning on dropping Alpha 2 in like November or October, and right now they're just kind of trying to pump out information about everything so they can expose everybody to everything before the Alpha hits. Unless they're doing that, they either have a lot to share, or they need to tone down and have some just pulse check streams like, hey, we're still doing stuff and we're hanging out.
Yeah.
And here we're going to talk to this person and just ask them how the thing's been and just have like a chill stream that's not like a big bomb being dropped week after week, because after a while it's going to seem like you have to keep upping the ante every week. And if you don't, then it's a disappointment. Instead of being happy when the big stuff hits, people are going to be disappointed when there's not a big thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And they gotta withhold some things too, and it's but
overthrow that, maybe pacing it out already. It's possible. And honestly, if these past weeks have been the pace that they're going to keep up, let's go.
April, May next year. Yeah, that's probably a pretty decent guess, I would say. I mean, they would like, I really think they're going to show like most of what's in Alpha 2 before Alpha 2, which would mean like one of these streams, if it was going to be this year, one of these streams would have to be like several of these last few streams all combined basically to get everything out.
Right.
So I don't see it this year.
Where is that? Boop. I have a source who told me they're releasing Alpha 2 next year in April and May. I'd asked my source to come to this stream to confirm, but unfortunately it just appears every time.
What a mooch.
What a mooch.
Only there for the green.
I also like that Overthrow says what's cool is that these polished reveals are basically the future till launch. It's not like they're going to regress to rebuilding the whole game after Alpha 1.
This A2 build is going to be, it's going to be the assets for launch. And that's something I've wondered too, like how much of Alpha 1 is being reused. And a lot of that felt like maybe even the map felt like kind of placeholder, and a lot of those assets might not be in the end product, but this A2, the A2 assets so far look like that's what we're going to see in launch. So that's interesting.
Yeah. See, I don't know though. And I literally just saying I don't know because I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the process specifically at a big game, or even how Steven is planning it specifically. But I know at least in my job anyway, where we build out and draw full scale like multi-floor giant buildings and all the devices in them, we do a big rough pass to get everything in there, and then we go back and we do a fine-tuned pass, and we go back again and do a fine-tuned pass, and then we have people review it and they point out things that need updated, and we go back in and we update that, and then we change things, and then we go back and have somebody review it again, and then we update. And every single time there's more detail and everything that's polished over. I think one project I've worked on in the past 2 years worth of design, and it's gone through, I want to say, 12 revisions. Like every 2 or 3 months, it's like a new revision of something that we have to review everything for, and then have it pass through upper management to review it all again.
Yeah.
So if they do anything like that with such a large thing like this, there's probably going to end up being hey, let's get to this point, and then we'll build the next thing, and then we'll go back and kind of touch on stuff, and we'll get everything up to that next point, and then we'll build the next thing, and then we'll get everything up to the next point, and kind of fine tuning as you go, and then you notice more stuff on second, third, and fourth looks. That's personally how I would personally approach it if I were in that position. But again, I don't know industry standards or how they really try to do that. So that's just me stabbing random guesses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting to see like how you're gonna the combat teams were doing their thing, and then environments doing their thing, and how does that all come together? How do you put those all together once they're kind of in a working state? I have no idea, but it'd be interesting to know like some of the details of that too, because they do show us like the technical side of things, but it'd be interesting to see like the stitching of everything together and how that works.
Absolutely.
Either way, it's all witchcraft as far as I'm concerned.
Magic. Yep.
Magic.
Yep.
Everyone knows it's fully half empty. I get the impression that Intrepid Studio isn't in a hurry, and yet Steven is like, we hired 8 more people this month. This project feels kind of monumental. Well, I think it absolutely is monumental. It's the first MMO of its kind, right? So I feel like to build something like this, it's absolutely monumental, you know. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and as they even mentioned earlier in the stream, where all they have to do is design the shading that they're doing right there, and then save that skin, and then go in and do it all again in a whole other way, and then save that skin. And it's just kind of nice, because then maybe you can implement stuff to kind of make them match a little bit. Perhaps they get worn by the same types of materials. But I also love that they can just rotate stuff like that.
Yeah, even add some extra damage to one and knock down an extra wall, or remove part of the floor just to make it a whole separate structure from the same base building, which, I mean, look around even today in the most modern of ages, and how many times do people reuse the same exact floor plan?
Yeah.
With minor changes for like a different family for a house or something.
Yeah, right. I mean, the block I live on, every house is pretty similar.
Yeah, you literally go to the construction company like, I want that one, but can you, like, I don't know, make the living room a little bigger and not so much on the kitchen?
Yeah, sure, it's in like a new subdivision, and they just, everybody kind of custom makes a few things, but it's all the same though.
Yeah. Dante says, I don't know that. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. There's only so many ways to make like a stone structure, you know? So, I mean, some reuse. It's like they're reusing assets, but they're at least putting a touch on it. So that's good.
Yes. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
I clicked something on Twitter and it was very loud and it was just suddenly in my ears. It shocked me a little bit. Dante says, I don't know what that many indie studios who pull off a AAA title. I think No Man's Sky is the only one that comes to mind. And then there's Ashes, a AAA MMORPG. Like, when it gets finished, I think it very well can be up to that standard with them taking the time that they feel is necessary. And I like that they're doing that.
I think that's the perfect combination to be independent but well-funded, because a lot of those indie companies, the biggest problem was funding. Like, I'm kind of interested in Pantheon as well. Ashes is the one I'm most interested in, but Pantheon has some really cool ideas as well, even though I'm a PvP guy, and that's a PvE game. But they have some really cool concepts, but funding has always been their issue, and I think still is to some extent. So, but like I said, Intrepid has that. I think it's the perfect combination to be well-funded and independent, to where you don't have the pressures of a corporation. And how many potentially good MMOs were shut down because the corporation, somebody up above said, this isn't going to work. We're going to shut it down, like Titan with Blizzard and EverQuest Next. And so many of these potential big games that didn't ever release because some corporate drama, some internal drama. So
Right.
Or rush them out because they need to be done.
New World. Yeah. And many others.
Yeah. I think Ash is in a good spot to just be a very unique MMO between just, for one, the graphics that you're looking at. I honestly feel like it's almost unmatched. The uniqueness in their characters, also almost unmatched. At least for a while, at one point those were unique characters. But I really love, because this all originated as like a Pathfinder D&D game, and you have these general races, but you don't have to have them look like that. They can look like this based off of the lore and backstory of that race. You can have elves, but maybe elves are more bioluminescent because they live in a bioluminescent type of environment and biome. So then you have a very unique type of elf look because they've adapted to that over time. And I really like that they've essentially taken that idea and they've ran with it. And it really shows, especially when looking at the Tolnar stuff,
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, I'm not sure I can think of an MMO that had a race like the Tolnar that was a combination of all the different races. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I guess that's really a question that or a statement that I've seen some people made that I'll form into a question for you there, Rive. So I've seen many people say that they're upset for Intrepid going with the default of human, elf, orc, dwarf. That every other game does this. Every other game has the same races. They didn't get imaginative at all with what they did. No, excepting for Tolnar, because those are obviously a very original thing. Do you think that they did a good job with the imagination of the backstories and the divergence between those races, or do you think they kind of went the bland whatever route? And do you think there's even a problem with going the bland whatever route when everything else about the game is so crazy?
Yeah, I don't have a problem at all with going the standard fantasy RPG route. I mean, what else? I mean, how do you... It's hard to put other kind of races in with still being a fantasy RPG. And you have diversity with the 2 sub races of each of the 4 parent races. You have 9 total races. And I mean, it's not like, at least they want different, like it's not like a standard looking orc or standard looking elf. There's quite a bit of uniqueness in the models, I think, compared to a lot of other MMOs.
Right.
So I mean, I don't have a problem with it, really. I mean, I think it's fine. And I prefer fantasy over like sci-fi. So for me, it's perfect. I don't have a problem with it at all.
I don't know. I'm really just excited with the prospect that they have. I love that it's high fantasy. I am nervous that it's PvP oriented, but I'm excited. It's like that feeling you get when you're terrified to go on the roller coaster, but you're in the line anyway. I know that one way too much.
Some friends that are in the PvP and you'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to do it. Somebody pull me away while I'm
free drinks
forward.
in your guys' Freehold Tavern, and I'll get my my guild to join your guys' server as long as you give us free drinks, and we'll protect you guys.
Yeah, the middle one does look really good, Takeda. These are very interesting. I like it. I'm very excited to see more. I thought we were supposed to see toes, though. I don't want to see toes. It's okay. Actually, shoes are made for walking. A non-gifted you with them. So, You can think Anon. Yeah.
None.
Anon.
Yep.
Anon. Overthrow says, I think certain aspects of Ashes might hit flat on their own. Maybe the PvE won't be anything revolutionary. The quests aren't mind-blowing, but the nodes and the quality of world building as a whole will carry the game. Absolutely.
Yeah. One of my favorite games is Civilization, and Steven hasn't mentioned it outside of MMOs, is Civilization. And Steven hasn't mentioned it in a while, but that's one of the games he mentioned, like, in some of the, I've been watching some of the earlier videos recently, and he mentioned Civ quite a bit when describing the nodes. And so when I started thinking about it in that aspect, because Civilization is one of those games where, you know, I've played a ton of it, not as much as MMOs, but it's a fantastic game, and that's kind of, in a way, that's kind of what the nodes are. And so for me, that's kind of, it's going to be by far the biggest feature. I do wonder, like, how much, like, you know, the world is huge, and the nodes, like, you're going to need to stay in like one spot to level nodes, and are people going to kind of stick to one area of the world? Because in theory, like, all the mob levels are in one zone or in one node. There's not like zone A has level 10 to 20, and then you go to zone B that's 20 to 30. Like, all the different mob levels are in that node as it levels up, and you could, in theory, just level in that node. And I know they've said that that's not going to be optimal, that world travel will be prioritized, but you're also going to want to level up your node and your crafting. So I think you're going to spend a lot of time potentially like in one area. So I hope they find like an A2, like the balance to where things like story and things that get people out of their node and actually seeing the beautiful world that they've created. I hope that they can find that during A2.
Yeah.
But here's one question. It's just said like the zone of influence having like the widespread of all the different levels. Is what would happen if, say, 2 zones of influence? I've always been curious on if when the place becomes a metropolis or whatever, it expands its zone of influence as far as it can, or if a zone of influence is established and only one node within that zone of influence can become a metropolis, and that's it. Like how does that form? And then if one node is brought down, does another one just take over the previous zone of influence? Like, will there be specific zones of influence that are universal across all servers, or is it going to be set once, and then after that once, it's going to kind of be set going forward for that server? Because you can't really, if you drop down one metropolis, the very next metropolis to pick up where it left off is going to take over that zone of influence because the other ones are already established, right? But what happens if the last metropolis to be established is right on the border of another zone of influence?
Oh, right.
So its levels are all the way up at max, right up at the border, and then there's another metropolis right here that has like one slave node like right on its edge, and so it only has a chance to get up to level like 10. Level 10 mobs are there. And then the very next node over is going to be level 50.
Yeah.
How
That'd
much
be
surprise
terrifying.
is that going to be for some people? Oh, let me go out and pick mushrooms for my first quest. Oh, I'm going to go kill a rat. Oh, look, there's a dog. Oh my God, it ate me.
Yeah. I noticed that, like, even in A1, like level 10 mobs, and then you go, 500 meters and level 40 mobs, and then you go another, and then, it's just really scattered around. And I know they said it was like the higher you go up the mountain, the higher the mobs levels will be, things like that. But it's an interesting thing that I don't know that too many MMOs have done it like that, where the mob levels are just scattered everywhere. That to me is going to be pretty interesting to see how that plays out. And I wonder, like, a lot of things with the zone of influence, like what if you make a metro all the way at the edge of the map? I guess the ZOI would have to spread much further in one direction than, like, because my traditional, when I think about ZOI, is like you have your metro and then it spreads out 360 from there. But what if you have a node all the way on the edge, and I guess it just can only spread one direction, but it would spread further in that direction, I would assume. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics that we'll have to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I'm just putting up on the screen some things that everybody's saying about ZOI. Over there saying, I wonder if a zone of influence will shatter when Metropolis goes down, and then the vassal nodes will split. ZOI is kind of hard to visualize. And then Distorta says, haven't we seen a simulation for this already? I think ZOIs were quite flexible.
Yeah,
Hey there, relax.
Yeah, well, the question being mainly, what if the very last metropolis to establish itself happens to be right on the edge of a zone of influence of another metropolis? It won't really like squish in its zone of influence, right? Because then there's going to be a big gap on the other side of it. If there's 100 and whatever, what was it, 103 zones, I think, 103 nodes.
103 regular nodes, and then there's the castle nodes on top of that.
Yeah, and there's the five metropolis, and if 4 of them are established, and there's one literal like zone of influence that will fit a metropolis left remaining.
Yeah.
And it gets established right next to another zone of influence. Is it gonna push everybody's zone of influence around in a circle to fill in both sides of it and have it be centered around everything? But then it wouldn't be able to if there's 2 metropolis that are like 10 nodes apart when they get established. And then if all 5 are established and then one falls down, there's only one gigantic zone of influence left remaining to be soaked up as soon as one of those gets back up to a level 6.
Yeah.
I think the zone of influences are going to stay the same. That's my prediction. They're going to stay the same after they're established. Unless you knock out like 3 metropolises all at once.
I think that's the way I understand it. That's how it's designed. But I also think it might be interesting to, because I think once you get 5 metropolises built on a server, I think that those are probably going to stay, and it's going to be very hard to defeat those because metros have a huge defensive advantage. So I think it would be kind of interesting if that's actually how it plays out, that the ZOIs, like there was some sort of push-pull mechanic to where the metro ZOI, because they're going to be butting up against each other, if there was some way to maybe through questing or through like sieging like the vassal nodes, like you could affect and push your ZOI into the other metro ZOI or something along those lines. I think that would be kind of interesting. Obviously they probably can not all the way into the node, but maybe right up next to one of the nodes, something like that. I think that might be kind of interesting because I could see servers getting actually kind of static after you get everything developed, because I think it's going to be hard to siege in a year after launch or something like that. I could see it being hard to siege some of these bigger nodes.
Yeah, but by the same token, there's going to be just as many resources that the other major nodes are going to have too, so they might be able to throw more weight into the siege.
Yeah. I think it's going to be like, I think it's going to be like warfare is going to go like global, later on in the server's life, because early on, I think it's going to be more regionalized and localized. But then I think, in order to siege a metro, you're going to need the resources of a metro. So I think you're going to see metro versus metro. And I think you'll see like metros going and destroying the vassal nodes first, which would weaken the metro because they'd have less tax revenue and things like that. And then I think they may attempt the metro versus metro siege, because I think that's one of those things, like, because it sounds like it's going to take so many resources that people are going to not do it unless they're pretty sure that they have the ability to actually win. So I think, it's going to take a big effort, I think, for people to actually win in that scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to follow a lot along Civilization's path and example, where it's going to take a lot of a node's resources to either attack or defend. And it's going to start off where there's going to be like log walls fencing the city and people throwing rocks over it and trying to stab between the logs with pitchforks. But then towards the end, there's going to be laser cannons and nuclear weapons flying.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's going to be just as damaging financially
Yeah.
on both of them, as far as like how the quantity of their resources available get consumed during an attack or defense stage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you don't like win the siege, you could still, I guess you still would need to win, but you could do like caravan sieges and things like that to weaken. And it may not all be about trying to destroy a metro node, because that could be so hard, but just weakening it could be a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gandhi and civilization would always, the AI would always go nuclear and start nuking everything. It was kind of a meme back in civilization days, where Gandhi, like the Gandhi AI, if you played against it, it would just start going crazy, and completely the opposite of how Gandhi actually was. So.
That's funny.
Nice. It was a troll name. It's like the person going into a PvP game named Not a Healer.
Yeah.
Just to draw everybody's fire, because it's obviously a healer. They name themselves Not a Healer. Let's go get them. It's a tank with nothing but control and CC abilities.
I think they've said like some nodes potentially could like never get out of stage 1. So maybe there is like, maybe the ZOIs don't completely cover the whole map. I don't know, because somebody mentioned Overthrow there that the 5 metro server limit may not take up the whole server space.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was something I was going to bring up
too. Possible too.
That was something I was going to bring up too. Is that I think just like the IRL world is pretty flexible and fluctuating. You know, I mean, granted, here in the U.S. we have our predetermined capitals, but if we didn't predetermine the capitals, then, you know, back when the U.S. was first being made, you had the ability to determine what the capital was. And I feel like with a landmass like this, sure, there's going to be predetermined places for where a node can spawn, but in terms of which of those nodes that spawned becoming the metropolis, that's kind of up to us to build it up.
yeah.
And I feel like the world being flexible enough for change like that, maybe there was this Atlantis, you know, it was this great big metro and is since fallen and now is long and last forgotten, and it's a level 1 node somewhere just left to be ruins, literally.
Yeah. It's just full of resources too. So I could see, like, I think they're going to have to balance like that out a little bit. They're going to have to probably put the really good materials far away from the starting areas to encourage people to maybe try to develop those nodes and get away. Because I think you're going to see a lot of the starting area nodes get developed first, naturally, because that's where everybody's going to end up. Mm-hmm. But I think those areas might not have a lot of resources, just to encourage people to move somewhere else. And of course, I think people are also going to want the metro to be centralized on the continent, but then, you know, maybe they balance that out by a lot of the resources are on the edge of the continent, to where you need the caravan system and things like that. Or maybe you build your metro towards an edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we'll have to wait until we get in to see stuff, but what if there's, you know, like an underwater metro area potential? You know, that'd be kind of cool. But
I think they said like no underwater nodes, but I could be wrong on that. I know they said there's underrealm nodes though. That is something. Yeah. I'm very curious about the underrealm and how that nodes works underrealm, because I do believe they said there is underrealm nodes.
Absolutely. Give me a second. I'm gonna make a quick poll while Vertec talks. Picking you.
And Dakar is confirmed for caravan skins. I like it. Vertex speak. He do sometimes. I was having fun just listening to those two. I like to take the back seat and just listen once in a while.
Yeah.
Some other times I just can't stop talking. So, you know, like this cat in the background. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but
I heard it for a second.
Speech right now. But yeah, there's I can't imagine them keeping up the pace of how much they're throwing at us with these live streams for all the way up until like middle of next year. So they've either got a whole lot of stuff to throw at us, or Alpha 2 is going to be at like the beginning of next year at latest, and they've only got like 5 more monthly streams to get all the data out there that they have. I really think that they're really getting the image and the feeling, like others have said, that they're farther along in development than people think they are. Just because they haven't released all the information, they're actually legitimately keeping it. Oh, hey.
All right, Wizzy. Who do you want, Wizzy?
Look at that steer in the rain.
Red, you got it. I'll prep up Captain Redbeard.
Points wins. I guess we'll do the poll just to see how it goes. Let it ride out while we chit-chat.
By the way, OMF Goddess, if you haven't checked her out, is also a part of the Ashes community. So she's not talking about Ashes right now, but we haven't been able to raid her before. So that's why she was kind of up for consideration. We weren't really sure, do we raid somebody we haven't raided before, or do we raid somebody who's talking about Ashes? So thank you, Wizzy, for that.
Yeah.
OMF
Goddess has actually joined us for a bit too.
Yeah, true.
She joined us for an episode once.
Yep. So yeah. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, it is. I unfortunately don't have any fan art to show you this week. I did not get that far before stream. I apologize. I will do better next time. But we did have amazing, just stuff to show on stream while we chatted, and just look at this. Oh no, all good, don't be sorry. Honestly, we were looking for guidance and you literally guided us, so all good on that. So
also not fully sorry.
But yeah, I mean, we have this beautiful new biome. We've got this new Unreal Engine video sneak peek of the biome with the goddess statue and like these scorpion things. So like lots to go off of, even if no fan art, but we'll be catching up on that fan art for next week, I'm pretty sure. But if there's anything you can take away with you for this stream, what would it be? One thing.
From the Ashes live stream, like the main thing is that tool for me. That's the main thing, but Tulnar is the close second. Those are the my two biggest takeaways that I liked the most.
Absolutely. Airtech?
Scorpions are very, very frightening. And also the creation of that tool is pretty awesome. I like that.
Yeah,
Scorpion would be 3 for me. Yeah, Scorpion's up there too.
Yeah. Over there, so Steven said A2 is shipping without all the features at the very start.
Yeah, that's a big one too. I forgot about that, but yeah, I remember when I heard that the first time. That's kind of big, because I've always wondered, like, is he waiting until it's all done before he's launching A2? And if he's not, then it's probably coming a lot sooner than I think.
Yeah.
If it's not feature complete at the start of A2, which would make sense. I mean.
Yeah, that's my wall, Dante, by the way.
I'm amused. Yeah. Would you like to enlighten the people that came late? They've been guessing the whole stream.
Yeah, I'm traveling right now. I'm visiting with a friend who's going through a little bit of a rough time, so I wanted to swing out this way and keep them company and try to increase the mood, help keep up stuff around the house while they're in sad mode.
And while he's gone, I decided to take charge of the podcast, like the little gremlin that I am. I don't understand how they'll extend the second continent isn't A2 starting with half an island. I have no idea, Eroch. The thing that I take away from this is that there is a lot more content that they're looking to share with us in the future that they have already created, and that makes me excited. And also, I love to see the fact that they can just reuse some of these designs that they're making on the statue and being able to duplicate things and kind of quickly customize them. I feel like that's a really nice touch. I just wanted to take a moment and ask Rise, is there anything that you are working on coming up?
Yeah, I'm working on, well, I've kind of talked about some of the things I've been thinking about for video ideas. I'm working on the idea of players with nodes and how much they might be influenced to stay in their node a lot versus actually exploring and traveling, and how that dynamic will work. I think that's the next one I'm working on. And I forget off the top of my head what my other ideas are. It's very hard to come up with ideas with limited information right now, but
It's true.
that's why I kind of jump around and do some other games as well. But that's the next Ashes video, and it's just things like that where I kind of get into like details of different features.
Yeah. Did you apply for the content creator program, or are you going to? Okay.
I did. Yep. I don't have any anticipations that I'll get in, but I did apply for it. So.
We're excited to eventually see what that comes out to. I stopped asking when they were going to announce that. But I figured it'll come when they're ready. Well, there is sorry.
I was just going to add that, we have hopes of getting in, but we don't have any super high hopes because we don't put out a ton of content.
Yeah.
And we don't keep up with our YouTube channel right now, which is our next goal of getting back on top of.
Yeah.
You guys have been around for so long that I think that's got to be a factor, right? I mean,
it's hoping, but at the end of the day, I think it comes down to making quality content, and making your presence known, which we're not really great at socials, to be honest. But we're trying. We're getting better. Disorda says a big one too is that A2 will be persistent. Yep, that means I'll need a GM team, and I've not seen them look for those posts yet. That's fair. This is quality. Thank you, Lizzie.
Your face is quality.
When I started watching TV and Vertec, I wasn't even allowed to drink. I'm still not old enough to drink, but try to stop me. May not be old enough to drink, but is old enough to follow along behind us when we die and then take our stuff.
Yeah. Drink up our gold.
Thank you all so very much for joining us. That is Rive's links up there, so please give Rive a follow. And I am really happy to have you on, Rive. This has been a wonderful conversation, honestly. It's been one of the more interesting. Well, anytime. Thank you for being willing to jump on here. Some people get really scared, and it's understandable.
Magic. Yeah.
Yes, magic.
Sorry, they're saying magic in the chat.
Oh no, good. I see it. Magic hand.
Insert magic hand.
Please hang out with us and join us as we go and raid Captain Redbeard, who is chatting Ashes of Creation. And you guys will be able to keep the chat going. And Captain Redbeard is somebody who pops in on occasion, and we've had him on recently. And very cool person to chat with, and if you're interested in what we're talking about, I'm sure he's going to be talking about the live stream as well. So more live stream talk for your wonderful Friday evening. Thank you. I'm glad you guys really enjoyed it. He's not cool. Sorry, Wizzy. Thank you for giving us your time and your support. You could have been doing anything, including finding your own Genesis, but instead you're here with us. With this Genesis.
All the time you spend with us.
Seriously.
You can't get back, you spent it here. So thank you.
Absolutely. Reg, thank you so very much. And we have some stuff in the works. We have a meeting that we have tomorrow. Or sorry, Sunday. I think it's Saturday for some reason. So we'll be getting back to you guys on that soon. No refunds at the tavern. Absolutely. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful night, and I hope you'll join us in raiding Redbeard. Goodbye.
See you next time.
See you guys.